Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and in this lesson, we'll learn how to play the right hand part for the B section of Musette in D. Let's check out the score to get started. The B section begins here in measure 9. And just scan these first 4 measures of the B section for me and tell me what you notice. Maybe notice that the left hand is playing a similar kind of octave back and forth pattern. But this time, instead of being on D, D, we're going A, 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 A. Also, did you notice that we have some ticky tees, which are similar to some of the patterns we had in the A section. Also, these descending 16th notes, a string of 4 notes stepping down, which we also had in the A section, but they're rearranged in a new way. In the B section of pieces, it's common to take some patterns that we've had from the A section and do some new things with them. Now, on your own, I'd like you to try speaking and tapping the rhythm of measures 9 through 12. Remember, this rhythm here is ticky-tee, ticky-tee. Now, that's all I'm going to tell you. On your own, pause the video and try tapping and speaking using rhythm words, the rhythm for measures 9 through 12. Good, now let's try these rhythms together. Speak the rhythm words while we tap it. I'll count 2 beats and then we'll start. 1, 2, ticky-tee, ticky-tee, tee-tee-ta. Tee-tee, tee-tee, ticky-ticky-tee-tee. Great. Now, one more thing I'd like you to do in your own sheet music, in your own score, is to circle all of the notes that need to be sharped. Remember, our key signature automatically sharps any Fs and any Cs. I see a C right here, so I'm going to circle that one. Now the rest I'd like you to find on your own. So again, pause the video and on your own, find all the C's and F's and circle them. Use a pencil just in case you get something wrong. And then in a moment, press play once you've done that and we'll try it together. Here are the notes you should have found in your score. It turns out that there are no Fs on this line, so we only had to worry about these Cs to sharp. Now, let's try to play this on the piano. All right, please tell me the first note you see that the right hand plays in measure 9. If you said C, you're correct. It's not middle C, it's our treble C. We know from our key signature that it's going to be C sharp. It asks for a finger 2. So I've got my finger 2 ready on my C sharp. Try this on your piano. And now, thinking of the rhythm, ticky-tee, ticky-tee. See if you, on your own, can figure out how to play measure 9. Pause the video to give that a try, then press play to go on. Here's what you should have figured out. Hopefully, you're paying attention not just to the notes, but also to the slur and staccato marks. So these are legato, ticky-tee, ticky-tee. 2 legato notes leading into a 3rd staccato note. Ticky-tee, ticky-tee. Now you try. Good. Now can you name the next note we play in measure 10? If you said A, you're correct. Are we in position to play that A? No. As we get to these more advanced songs, our hands are going to be moving around frequently, which means you need to be very comfortable with all the notes on the staff. So hopefully you recognize right away that that's an A. With finger 5, instead of stretching, we're just going to shift our hand over, okay? And then, what interval do you see between these first 2 notes in measure 10? If you said a 4th, you're correct. Now you try. Good. Let's put that together with measure 9. We have ticky-tee, ticky-tee, tee-tee-ta. Now you try. Good. Now let's look at measure 11. We have T, 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 T. Now you try. Good. Now, name the next note you see in measure 12. If you said D, you're correct. Always be watching not just the notes, but also finger numbers. You can see that these are going to be notes stepping down. And are we in position to play a D and step down? That D is right here. We're out of fingers. That's why the sheet music gives us a 4. So once again, we've got to shift our hand down, finger 4, and I've got my finger 3 ready because I know that C sharp is coming. So we have ticky, ticky. Now you try. Now let's back up again to measure 11. We had T, 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 shift down, ticky, ticky. Now you try. Always feel free to pause the video if you need more time. Now, the next note is a B, but we have finger 2 on B. So we're going to have to shift down again to finger 3. And then we go down. What interval do you see between these two eighth notes? If you said a fifth, you're correct. Now, my finger 1 is a third below, so to go a fifth, I've got to go an extra skip below. So I'm going to go B, E. Now you try. Let's back up to the start of that measure. Finger 4 is on D. Ticky, ticky, T, T. Now you try. Let's go in slow motion. Ticky, ticky. Move 3 over to B. T, T. Now you try. Now let's put that entire line together. We have ticky, T, ticky, T, 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 ta. Pause the video and work on measures 9 through 12, right-hand part, then press play to go on. For measures 13 through 16, once again, let's prepare by circling any of the black keys. So when we're practicing it, those don't catch us off guard. Remember that we automatically have to sharp any F's and C's, but we also have some extra accidentals thrown in. Accidentals are sharps or flats that get inserted into the music. Actually, naturals count as accidentals too. So these symbols here are extra sharps that are happening in addition to our key signature. So this will be a little bit harder to find. Well, I take that back. I mean, the sharps are printed right there in the music, so that should actually make it easier. So we know this will be a black key, a D sharp right there. And then notice this natural cancels that sharp. An accidental lasts up into the bar line. And so if they didn't put that natural in the music, this D would also be sharp. However, the natural cancels that sharp. So this will be a white key. Now, can you go through the rest of this line on your own? And if it's going to be a sharp, circle it. And it doesn't matter if it's a sharp from an accidental or a sharp like this C, which is from the key signature. Go through, find all the black keys, circle them, and then press play, and we'll look at it together. All right, here are all the notes that you should have circled. The circled notes are the keys we will play on the black keys. Once again, we didn't have any F's to worry about, but we did have a couple of C's. We had this G sharp, a D sharp, another G sharp there. Now, before we try to play this, let's notice some things about the rhythm. One of the funny things about how music notation works is that a curved line like this can mean two different things, completely different things. You may recall that when a curved line connects two or more different notes, that is called a slur. So because this is an E and that's a D sharp, this is a slur. Remember, a slur means to play the two or more notes connected by the slur, play those notes legato. When a curved line connects two of the same note, that is called a tie. It means something completely different. When you see a tie, you hold this note down and you continue to hold it through the value of both notes combined. The reason we use ties often is because there's a bar line, and you'll notice we already had one beat here worth of eighth notes, 1 and, then we had another beat of eighth notes, 2 and, we're out of room. But this note, the composer wanted it to hold for an extra eighth note in value. So, once you get here to this 2 and, you're going to hold that D down during the first half of beat 1, and then we go on to the and of 2 there. Pause the video for a moment, and will you write in the counts 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and for these first two measures, and then press play to go on. Now, here are the counts. And again, with this tie, the rhythm will sound like this. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So on that 1, you're just going to hold, not tap, while we continue to count. Let's try it together. Tap the rhythm and count the beat out loud. 2 beats to get ready. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. If it's helpful, you can think 1 and 2 and hold and 2 and. Instead of beat 1, think hold, because you're holding on beat 1. Try it with me. Say hold instead of beat 1 here. Go. 1 and 2 and hold and 2 and. Now, is this, I forgot to look at this, is this a slur or a tie? If you said slur, you're correct. So let's put, I was using yellow before, let's stick with that. I'm going to write an S for a slur right there. Now, for these other 3 curved lines, can you figure out if it's a slur or tie and tell it to me? What's this one? If you said slur, you're correct. 2 different notes means a slur. What about this one here? This is a tie. And what about this one? That one is a slur. 2 different notes means a slur. And remember, a slur means to play legato. We're going to connect those 2 notes in a smooth way. Now, as you scan this line, now take a step back, do you see any patterns? Any notes that repeat? Did you notice that measures 13 and 14 are exactly the same as measures 15 and 16? That's really great to notice. That means we have half as much to learn. And then once we have these 2 measures learned, we're home free. Let's come to the piano and try it out. Can you name the first note we see in measure 13? If you said E, you're correct. So we have finger 5 on E. The next note's a D sharp, just a half step below. And notice that slur. Slur, staccato. Then name this next note. It's an E with finger 1. Will you try those 3 notes? E, D sharp, E. Try it again. Good, and then we have this interesting interval of a 7th. A 7th always sounds so almost sounds jazzy to me right here. T, 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 T. Finger 3 has to come back up to D. So notice we've moved down these half steps with this extra E thrown in. E, D sharp, E, D. Now you try. Be careful of the fingering. 5, 4, 1, 3. Try it again. Good, now let's add one more note. E, D sharp, E, D, C sharp. And notice I held that D extra long because of that tie. It's 1 and 2 and 1 and. Now you try. Good, now will you pause the video and counting out loud 1 and 2 and 1 and. That and 1 is so important that you don't play on beat 1 or we won't get the rhythm right. 1 and 2 and 1 and. Try that 5 times in a row and then press play to go on. Now, name the next note you see in measure 14. That is our high A, followed by a G sharp. Once again, a half step below. Lots of half steps in this section. Okay, try this A, G sharp with a slur staccato. Now you try. Let's put that all together. So finger 5, 4 on E to D sharp, then A, G sharp. Now, pause the video and work on that whole section now, adding that last little A, G sharp, then press play to go on. Then in measure 15, we do the same thing again, but with a different fingering. The different fingering is because we just did 5, 4 here, so your 3 will be in better range to do the E, D sharp this time. Notice that? So it's the same notes, but now we're on 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 5, 4. So we're going to play the exact same notes, but with a slightly different fingering, this time starting on 3, 2, 3, 2. Pause the video and try measures 15 and 16 using the 3, 2 fingering to get started, then press play to go on. Now, when you're practicing this on your own, be very, very careful of the rhythm. Be sure to hold that D natural extra long. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. It will help if you count out loud as you practice this. Now, let's keep going to the next section. Let's check out the rhythm for the right-hand part of measures 17 through 20. We've got a couple of ticky-tickies here, and what do we have here? A ticky-tee, and then another one here, ticky-tee. Now, on your own, can you point to each beat while you chant and tap the rhythm words? Try that on your own once. I want you to get more and more independent, where you're doing these things on your own without me showing you first. Try it out on your own, take a stab, and then we'll try it together. Now, let's try it together. I'll count 2 beats and then we'll start. We're using rhythm words, so you're saying ticky, 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 or tee, or ticky, tee, etc. Okay, let's try it. I'll count 2 beats, then we start. 1, 2. Ticky, 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 tee, 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 tee. Ticky, tee, 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 ticky, tee, ta. Good. Now, let's circle some black keys again. I find this a helpful way to prepare to play it successfully. Can you point to the first black key you see on this line? If you're pointing here to this D sharp, you're correct. That is an accidental placed in the music to tell us to play that D as sharp. Point to the next key. That's a black key on the piano. If you're pointing here to this C, you're correct. Because of our key signature, all C's on that staff are automatically sharp. Now, can you point to the next black key you see? Maybe you got tricked. But if you were thinking about the rule that accidentals last the whole measure up till the bar line, you'd remember that this D also must be sharp because this D was sharp and there's no natural to cancel it. So this D is sharp, and let's go ahead and look through. This D is sharp. Are there any more Ds? This D is automatically sharp. But any Ds after the bar line would not automatically get sharp. Now, did we miss any black keys in this measure? There's one more right here. So you'll see that we only have 2 white keys and the rest are all black. Ticky, 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 ticky. These 2 E's are the only white keys in that whole measure. Now, on your own, can you go through the rest of this line and circle any and all black keys that you'll be playing, and then press play and we'll check your answers. All right, you should have found just 3 more black keys. There's one here. This D natural technically is a courtesy natural. The editor didn't need to place that there because the bar line already canceled the D sharp from over here. But just in case a player forgets, sometimes an editor will place a natural in the next measure once a sharp has recently been seen, just to remind you. It's called a courtesy accidental. It's not needed, but placed out of courtesy or for helpfulness to the player. We have this G sharp, a C sharp because of our key signature, a middle C sharp. Remember, it doesn't matter where this C sharp is placed. This C or any high Cs or really low Cs, all Cs on that staff are automatically sharp. So that note is also going to be one of our black keys. Let's try this on the piano. Can you name this first note in measure 17? If you said E, you're correct, so let's place finger 4 on E. And then remember, we have 2 black keys in a row here, actually 3, D sharp, C sharp, then back to D sharp. E, D sharp, C sharp, D sharp. Will you try those 4 notes? Good. Now, let's play all 8 notes. We have ticky, 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 ticky. You try. Now, let's add one more note to go on into measure 18. We have ticky, 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 T. Notice they're all legato. And there's a crescendo mark. So let's start soft. And if you use your arm and think of kind of swooping a little bit to the side, that will help you crescendo into that last staccato. Watch my arm. I'm going to kind of circle it and kind of swoop into that last note. Now you try. Remember, as you're using your arm motion, your fingers stay pretty close to the keys. Now you try. Good. Then after that, we come down to a G sharp with finger 2. Then you'll notice we step up to A with a finger 1. How does that work? Well, since you're an advanced scale player by now, your finger 1 knows how to just slide underneath to A, and then we have that D natural. Okay, so let's just practice G sharp to finger 1, which is already on A. As your 2 is on G sharp, let your finger 1 already be ready on A. See how my finger 1 is underneath my finger 2, already in position? G sharp, A, D. Now you try. Again, G sharp, A, D. All staccato. You try. Let's put it together with measure 17. We have ticky, ticky, ticky. Sorry, I should have started quiet. When you see the word crescendo, start quiet for a great crescendo. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Now, pause the video and work on measures 17 to 18. Don't forget to think about the crescendo, the slur, the staccatos, as well as, of course, playing the right notes. Pause to work on that section, then press play to go on. Now, by the time we get to measure 19 here, our fingers can kind of feel like they're in this A major pentascale. Can you play that? Okay, notice how we just had that G sharp, and then we kind of land in this A major pentascale. Now, try these notes right here. We have ticky, T, T. Now you try. Now let's back up to the G sharp. We have G, I'm going to play this in slow motion. And 2, and 1, and 2. And let's stop right there. Now you try. Now here's something interesting happens. You'll see that we need to play a D just a step above middle C. But our hand's nowhere near there. And we see that it's asking for a finger 4, tells us we've got to shift down here. You'll see we land back in another A major pentascale, just 1 octave down. Now you try. See how that's an echo of what we just played up here? If I start on this D natural in measure 18, See, that pattern repeats here. Okay, now putting all of that together, we get, once again, I started too loud. Let's start quietly for the crescendo. Now, you're not going to play it that fast on your first try. Always start by practicing slow and then gradually increase the speed. Pause the video to work on measure 17 all the way through measure 20, then press play to go on. Once you finish measure 20, you'll notice in measure 21, well, let me ask you, what do you notice? You probably noticed that it looks just like our A section. This is identical to what we play in measure 1. So we're back to our main theme. Now, scan all the way from measure 21 to the end and tell me if this is an exact repetition of our A section or if there's something that's different. Go ahead and pause the video to take a few moments to scan and check every note for similarities and differences. You should have noticed that every single note is exactly identical to what we had in measures 1 through 8. That's good news. We already know this section now. One thing I guess you could call a difference is that when you get to the repeat sign here at the end of the piece, it won't repeat us back to the start of what we would call the A section, but it brings us all the way back to measure 9 for a repeat of this much bigger, what we could call a B section. Now, as you're practicing this B section, right hand alone, and we haven't added in the left hand part yet, I recommend starting at a really comfortable speed, maybe 96 beats per minute. Don't try and use the metronome until you basically have it down. You want to get it comfortably in your fingers, but maybe there's some pauses, some hesitations. Once you feel like you have the basic idea, choose a very slow speed, work on just being able to fluently play it with the metronome, then gradually increase the speed. And then soon we'll be adding the left hand in another lesson. As you practice from the beginning, pay attention to things like the dynamics, the articulations, which is a fancy word for the staccatos, and the slur marks. Great work learning the right hand part for the B section of Musette in D. Happy practicing, and see you next time. Hi guys. Hi Princess. I heard you talking about movies. Yeah? Well, I think Bach's favorite movie must have been The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Nice one, Princess. Wait, I know. His favorite movie was probably The Jungle Book. Oh, this is great.